Hey there, this is Ryan Eckert with Peak Endurance Solutions. Thank you for purchasing a strength training plan from me in the Training Peaks Training Plan Library. For the purposes of this video, I am going to have pulled up an intermediate 16-week triathlon specific strength training plan. Just keep in mind that this video provides a general overview of strength training plans regardless of which sport it is targeted towards and regardless of the level that you have, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced. So just to give you a high-level overview of the plan, this is a 16-week strength training plan. I do have other strength training plans available, so again, the length of the plan may differ slightly depending on the level of the plan you have and which sport it's targeting. But in general, I keep most of my strength training plans between 12 and 20 weeks, and I design them so that they can be repeatable or reusable over time. And I also include some resources that are going to be helpful in teaching you the basics of strength training and how to continue to apply strength training to your overall training routine moving forward beyond just the length of this plan. So what you'll notice on day one of the strength training plan is that there is this introduction note card. So this is where you want to start before undertaking the strength training sessions in this plan. The first thing you want to do, hopefully, is review this video that you're watching now. So that's where this video link will be found right here. And then once you are done with this brief overview video, the next thing to do would be to open this Strength Training Foundations e-booklet. So if you click on this, it is going to give you a download of a PDF. And you'll see something that looks like this. So this is what I call the Strength Training Foundations e-booklet. Basically, you'll see that it has a couple pages dedicated to an overview of strength training as well as the science of strength training for endurance athletes. And if you go down even further, you'll see that I get deeper and deeper into the science of strength training and then the implementation or practical application of strength training into your routine. So in this section, I go over what to do beyond the length of the plan and some of the ways in which you can continue to build strength training into your routine. So this strength training plan gives you a great foundation upon which to build upon moving forward. And then at the end of this, I give a table that gives like an overview of how you might then structure strength training moving forward, where you have the flexibility to design your own strength training sessions. And then at the very end, I do include, this is something that I made a while ago. It's an exercise technique guidebook. I made this before some of the features that Training Peaks now has available on their platform, but this could still be useful for you regardless. So what this is it provides an overview of a variety of different exercises, and I have them broken down into categories. So dynamic warm-up exercises, prehabilitation, lower body resistance, upper body, so on and so forth. And then you'll see for each exercise, I include a description of how to perform it, as well as pictures of what it should look like. And you'll see for some of them, they include video links if I thought that, or if I felt that they needed a little bit, or if I felt that the exercise needed a little bit more description than just a couple pictures. So once you start getting into some of the strength training exercises, I do include on this one like a video link overviewing in this case, a barbell front squat. So this can be a useful resource for you if you are building out your own strength training plans. But there is another way to build out strength training in Training Peaks as well, and I'll show you how Training Peaks strength training sessions works here in a second. But this is a nice resource for you that will give you an overview of strength training and then how to implement it into your routine moving forward. So then once you're done with all that, you should have the information that you need to take on the strength training sessions in this plan. So the types of strength training sessions you're going to see are a little bit different depending on which level plan you have and which sport that the plan is focusing on. So some of the titles of these and some of the exercises are going to be completely different from one plan to another, and that's by design. But what you'll see across all strength training sessions in these plans is a warm-up, a main set of some sort, and then a cool down at the end of the session. So typically warm-ups are going to consist of some dynamic stretching exercises, just some general movement exercises to kind of get some blood flowing, get some mobility around the joints. And then you'll see a main set. Sometimes it'll be like exercises or sets of exercises one by one. Sometimes it's a circuit in this case where you're doing things back to back to back. And then for a cool down, it'll usually consist of some type of static stretching or like a recommendation to do potentially some foam rolling or some self-massage, things like that. But usually that's the structure of the strength training plans. The nice thing about the strength training in Training Peaks now is they have updated it so that you can use what they call a strength training builder. And within that, this is what it looks like from my end. But on the Training Peaks app, if you use that to follow along to your strength training sessions, it'll pull up essentially the workout like you see here, but it gives you the ability to check things off as you do them and input like weights, for example, if you used weight on a particular exercise. And then for each exercise, it does include video previews and descriptions for them. So for some of them, I don't necessarily have videos input from Training Peaks because they maybe didn't have it available in their Training Peaks library. It's pretty rare. It's usually some of like the dynamic warm-up exercises or potentially static stretching exercises if it was just a really unique exercise that I like. Maybe Training Peaks didn't have that in their library. But for a lot of them, they do have videos. So that can be super useful for you when you're following along to these strength training plans, especially if it's an exercise that you're unfamiliar with. So if you get started with this and you're not sure what a Russian kettlebell swing is, you can click on the preview of the exercise, and in your app, in the Training Peaks app on your phone, it'll show you this, give you the exercise instructions. So it's super, super handy to follow along to. This is something new that Training Peaks did in, I think it was like 2024, 2025. They started rolling out this strength training builder feature, which has been a complete game changer in terms of being able to write up strength training plans and sessions and have athletes do them remotely. So this should make things a lot easier to follow along to as you're doing these strength training sessions. And again, if there is an exercise in here and you don't see a video link to it, sometimes I will have put in, like for this one I may have put in, this one I didn't have a video, but for example, this is in the exercise technique or the Strength Training Foundation's e-booklet in that exercise technique section. So there are a couple exercises potentially that are sprinkled into these plans that may not have had a Training Peaks video. If it is something a little bit more complex, I will have usually put in some sort of YouTube link to a video demonstration. But this is a pretty simple exercise, and so you can go to the exercise technique section of that Strength Training Foundation's booklet that you get, and you can see how to do that. But again, they're usually fairly straightforward exercises, and they're few and far between. And then as you progress throughout the plan, typically most plans are 2 sessions per week, with every 4th week being a reduced volume or recovery week, which, just to keep things simple, is just 1 strength training session instead of 2. So this just allows you to kind of deload or unload from strength training a little bit for a week without deconditioning yourself, and allowing a little bit of recovery from a strength training perspective. And then it usually repeats with the sessions progressing in some way over the course of whatever the length of the plan is. Again, anywhere between 12 and 20 weeks. And then at the very end of the plan, you'll see it usually ends with a final reduced volume / recovery week. And then beyond the end of this plan, it is then up to you to decide if you want to repeat this plan and kind of go through it again, which could be a form of progression if you then work through these exercises again and increase the weight or the intensity that you're doing them at. But then also that's where that endurance or the strength training for endurance athletes e-booklet will come in handy, as it gives you more information related to progressing strength training into the future and how to kind of structure and set up strength training sessions on your own. So hopefully you found this video useful in regards to your strength training plan that you purchased from me. And if you ever have any questions on this or any other plans in my Training Peaks library, you can always reach out to me via email, which should be listed on my contact information under the Training Peaks training plan library I have. But it is peakenduranceSolutions@outlook.com. You can also go to my website, which is just peakenduranceSolutions.com, and I have various ways of getting in touch with me through there as well.